Horror movies based on real life, the disturbing true stories. Scream. You think Scream is about a horror movie fan who loves rules? You're wrong. The chaos, the fear, the chilling randomness. It all started with a monster far worse than Ghostface. In 1990 in Gainesville, Florida, an actual serial killer terrorized a college town. This isn't just movie trivia, it's the horrifying true story that gave birth to cinema's ultimate meta-slasher. The killer was Danny Rolling, known as the Gainesville Ripper. He was a predator who stalked students. The feeling of being watched, the fear of betrayal, the sudden, brutal home invasions. They weren't pulled from Halloween. They were ripped directly from the headlines that year. Now let's look at the famous opening scene of Scream. It's not just a phone call, it's an immediate injection of real panic. The killer demanding an answer to a movie question before the attack is Wes Craven's way of injecting absurdity into a very real, random terror. The most terrifying connection is the killer's motivation, or lack thereof. Rolling's attacks were senseless, just like Ghostface's. But what Scream added was the meta-commentary. The film took that real-life randomness and turned it into a mirror for society's obsession with true crime and horror, essentially making the audience complicit. So the next time you watch Scream, remember the chaos is delightful fiction, but the anxiety is rooted in a horrifying real-life event that forced an entire community to question the safety of their own homes. Here's the brain-breaking fact. Wes Craven was actually criticized by some local Gainesville residents for making the film too soon, but he maintained the film was a response to the way true crime had invaded American life. Candyman. From the terror of the random slasher, we shift to a monster born of legend and, tragically, American history. You know the ritual. Say his name 5 times in the mirror. But the legend of Candyman isn't about an idle curse. It's about the ghost of systemic failure and a scream that echoes through Chicago's broken concrete. The original Candyman film, 1992, is set in the notorious Cabrini-Green housing project in Chicago, a place where poverty, segregation, and violence were not folklore, but daily realities. This is the truth the movie is built on. Not just saying a name, but the systemic neglect that made those communities vulnerable. The villain's origin, a black artist unjustly murdered in the 19th century, is the foundation of his power. He is literally a manifestation of trauma, and the film uses the housing project to show that this trauma persists. When the protagonist, Helen, investigates, she's not chasing a ghost. She's uncovering a cycle of historical pain. This takes the classic Bloody Mary urban legend and gives it a devastating context. Bloody Mary is a frivolous scare. Candyman is a cautionary tale. He only appears because people need him to exist, to blame him for the horrific acts that are actually rooted in institutional rot. The hook isn't who is Candyman, it's why did society create him? The true horror isn't the hook, it's the realization that Candyman is less a villain and more a symptom. He's the physical embodiment of a collective community wound. Here's your brain-breaking fact. In the 2021 sequel, the film was so committed to realism that it used the actual demolition footage of the last Cabrini-Green high-rises to represent the trauma being literally erased from history. The hills have eyes. From the urban blight of Chicago, we go to the scorched deserts of the American Southwest. Wes Craven's 1977 film, The Hills Have Eyes, gives us an inbred, savage family preying on travelers. But the setting is a red herring. The real story is a 16th century Scottish nightmare so brutal, it was almost erased from history. Enter the legend of Sawney Bean. According to accounts dating back to the 1500s, Bean was the patriarch of a 48-member clan of cannibals who lived in a cave in Scotland. Over 25 years, they allegedly murdered and ate over 1,000 travelers, replenishing their numbers through incest and isolation. The cannibalism, the inbreeding, the isolation. Wes Craven didn't just borrow from Sawney Bean. He transplanted the entire nightmare from the sea caves of Scotland to the desert caves of the US. Why? To ground the film's chaos in a primal, inherited fear. The modern film's mutants are just a new coat of paint on a 400-year-old monster. But here's the unsettling difference. Sawney Bean may not have even existed. Many historians believe the story was propaganda, a brutal myth created by the British Crown to justify harsh military control or simply to sell sensational crime pamphlets. It's a terrifying thought. The monster was born not in a cave, but in a lie. Whether Sawney Bean was real or a gruesome political myth, his horrifying legacy traveled over 4,000 miles and across 400 years to terrify a whole new generation. Here's the brain-breaking fact. The first film's violence was so extreme, some U.S. critics compared it to the atrocities of the Vietnam War, connecting that ancient savagery to modern conflict. Poltergeist. We shift gears to a different kind of horror, the suburban nightmare. Poltergeist, the 1982 classic, terrified a generation with its tale of a house built on a burial ground. But the real-life curse that followed the film has always overshadowed the movie itself. The shocking part? That curse was entirely preventable. The real story began in the set design. For a pivotal scene involving a character falling into a muddy pool filled with skeletons, the production crew made an unfathomable choice. They used real human skeletons. Why? Because at the time, buying real human remains was cheaper than purchasing movie-quality plastic props. This single fact is considered the origin of the Poltergeist curse. Over the following years, 4 cast members died tragically young, including the lead child actress, Heather O'Rourke. Now, is it a curse? Scientifically, no. But in Hollywood folklore, a set desecrated by real human remains is a massive cinematic sin that guarantees chaos. The horror of Poltergeist lies in the irony. The fictional house was built on a desecrated graveyard, but the actual movie set was desecrated by human remains that should have been left in peace. This is less an urban legend and more a horrifying failure of basic human respect that Hollywood transformed into a supernatural myth. And here's the final brain-breaking fact about Poltergeist. When the skeleton scene was shot, none of the cast members, including the adults, were told the skeletons were real. Williams was quoted years later saying she felt physically sick upon learning the truth. It follows. We end our journey not with a historical monster, but with a uniquely modern fear. The 2014 film It Follows has no real ghosts, no cannibal families, and no curses. It has the It, a creeping, relentless entity that passes from person to person through intimacy. This is the ultimate allegory for a modern urban legend, the inescapable threat of chain letters and STDs. The brilliance of the It lies in its mechanics. It is always slow, always coming, and it only stops if you pass it on. This is a deliberate cinematic parallel to the spread of a sexually transmitted disease. The shame, the secrecy, and the feeling of having something invisible and relentless hunting you down. The other layer is the psychological chain letter. Think of the 90s urban legends. Forward this email or you will die. The film taps into that primal, digital age anxiety that something is tracking you. And the only way to save yourself is to pass the burden to someone else. It weaponizes guilt and fear of social exclusion. It Follows is a truly modern urban legend because the monster is less about the supernatural and more about the anxiety of consequence. The real horror is the complete loss of safety in a world where a single intimate act can forever change your life. It's an incredibly smart piece of social commentary hiding in a spooky shell. And here's the final brain-breaking fact to wrap up our list. The film's musical score is a direct homage to classic 80s horror films, specifically the atmospheric synths of John Carpenter, proving that even new terrors still know how to look back at the old ones for inspiration. Okay, that was dark, but honestly, Snow White is darker. Stay close. The rabbit hole goes deeper. Right here.